Hi all, welcome to session 34 of Azure Data Factory, and in this session we are going to take a look at filter activity. In the session 32, when we were working with lookup activity in a pipeline, we used filter to filter the required file name from the array that was given as an output by lookup activity. Okay, so we are going to discuss filter activity in detail in this session. If you go on the Microsoft Azure Data Factory documentation, it is going to give you this definition. So filter activity is used to apply a filter expression to an input array. So here two things that you should notice: you are going to filter an expression, and the input you are going to filter on an expression based on an expression, and the input to that expression is going to be an input array. Okay, so always filter activity is going to expect you to provide a input array as an array variable as an input. So you cannot pass any string, or you cannot pass any other type of variable. You have to pass array type. Okay, so that is one thing that you have to keep in mind. And it is going to apply an expression, and in the expression you can give your logic. Based on that, it is going to check each and every element of the array, and whichever element is actually the expression is validating as true, that particular element of that array will be given as an output by the filter. Okay, so let's just go to the Data Factory Studio and explore it by doing some hands-on. Okay, so let me go to my Azure portal. And also in this session, we are going to take a look at different expressions and functions that we can use using in the filter activity. Okay, let me open my Data Factory Studio quickly. I think it was already, yeah. So this is my Data Factory instance. I'm now in my Data Factory Studio. Okay, cool. So I'm going to use a new pipeline. Okay, so I'm going to say this pipeline is for PL filter activity demo. Okay, and in order to get the output from a file, I'm going to use a lookup first, and after that I'm going to use a filter activity. Make sure that you understand that filter activity is part of iteration and conditional activities. Okay, so if I remove everything, you see these are the categories of the Data Factory activities. There are two main categories. One is called general, and then there is a iteration and condition. Most of the time when you are working in the Data Factory and creating pipeline, you will use general activities and iteration and conditional activities very frequently. It's like basic building blocks of programming language. Similarly, we have these basic building blocks of Azure Data Factory pipelines. Okay, so let me just say lookup file data, and I'm going to use a filter after that. So I'm going to connect these two activities, and let me just auto align. Okay, filter output. Okay, and in this pipeline I am going to take a input. Okay, so I'm going to take an input, but let me just first find out the file that I'm going to use for this demo. So let me use this, and let me go to my data lake. I think I have some files there, so I'm going to reuse them. I think I have put something in source. Yep. So I can use customers 100k.csv. This file was used to discuss the limitation of lookup activity in session 33. That is the last session. Okay. So I'm going to take this file for our demo. Okay. So I'm going to say source as the container name. My folder path is configuration, and my file name is customers 100k dot csv. Okay, I'm going to remove first row only checkbox. That way I get all the rows, or I would say first 5,000 rows, because this particular file has more than 100,000 records. Okay, so as per the limitation of lookup, it is going to give me only first 5,000. Okay, awesome. So I'm good with the lookup. For now, let me just deactivate the filter activity and let me run a debug. I'm removing the parameter for a while. It succeeded. Fine. So as you can see, the value attribute of the output JSON is a array of JSON objects. Okay. So we are going to use this array of JSON objects as an input for the filter activity. Okay. And based on this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the country to filter the records in the filter activity. Okay. So let's try that out. So in the expression, you are going to use the country. So I am activating it. Again, let me just check the output one more time so that I'm not messing up my expression in the filter activity. Okay, so we have country where C is capital. Fine. Filter output. Now you go to settings. You are going to get the first mandatory field, that is called items. Okay, so here items means items of the input array, so we have to pass an array here. So you have to click on add dynamic content, and if you see, you are getting lookup file data value array. So this value is an array type. Okay, so that is why you are going to use this one. And now in the conditions, okay, you are going to say filter output, that is going to give you the current item. So when I say item means, it is going to check each and every item of the input array, that is the value that we have got from the lookup, and there are 5,000 items. So it is going to apply your condition on each and every item in the array, and the items that are going to satisfy that condition will be part of the output of the filter activity. Okay, but before we go and set up the expression for conditions, let me highlight the functions that we most often use in the filter activity. Okay, so in the filter activity, if you see, most of the times we are going to use logical functions, and if you see here, there are logical functions like equal, if, and, greater, greater or equal, less, less or equals, not, or. Okay, so these functions are like logical operators of a programming language. So if you are aware, if you are familiar with any programming language, like I am good with Python, so in Python we have logical operators where double equals means equal operator, and then you have exclamation mark equal where it is like not equal to something like that. So similarly, instead of having those operator signs, here we have the functions. So if you are going to use equals, you need to call equals function instead of using that equal sign. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say I need to equate the item dot country, because item has a country attribute, with value India. Okay, so I'm going to compare the country attribute of each and every item of an array with India. Okay, and I think there will be a single quote, not double quote. Okay, so this is what the expression is. Okay, likewise you can have multiple expressions chained using and or you can have other functions as well, but most of the time, whatever expression you are going to build, it is going to give you an true or false output. So it's going to be a boolean expression. Just keep this in mind. And you have to use functions which are in the logical category. So you can get all the functions that are supported in expression. So you have collection, conversion, date, logical, and there are math string functions as well. But most of the time in filter activity, you are going to use the logical functions. Okay, so this is the simple expression which is going to evaluate item country attribute, and it is going to check whether the country for that item is India or not. Okay, so we are done. We have passed the items array and we have put a condition that is going to be applied on each and every item of that array. Okay, so let me now click on debug and let's see what happens. It succeeded. Now if you see, you have around 20 items out of 5000 in which we have country as India. Okay, everywhere if you see, the country is India. Okay, so this is the benefit of filter activity. Now if you want to perform operations on these 20, you can take the next step. You can perform operation on it. Okay, so filter is going to give you the values based on the expression that are going to hold true for the items of an array. Okay, so this was the filter. And the use of filter we have seen already in session 32, where we use the filter to filter out the name of the file that we want to copy based on the configuration file that we read in the lookup activity. So you can just check my session 32 on the lookup activity and you will get the gist of how we can extend the filter activity in order to uh, get some tangible output out of our pipeline. Okay, so this is all related to filter activity. It is a very like simple activity, but it's very common in pipelines, so you should know about this. And after this we are going to cover remaining iteration and conditional activities. Just make sure that in order to understand these three or like these five activities, you should be aware of a like programming language. And if you know the programming language, you know the loops, you know if else conditions, you will be able to relate to these activities. Okay, so technically whatever programming languages you know, in the programming language the constructs that we use to pass the controls to different part of our code, similarly we have the iteration and conditional activities in ADF. Okay, so that was all for today. I hope you liked it. Please like, share and subscribe, and let me know your feedback in the comment section so that I can improve my content. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and let's meet in the next session.